Harness the full potential of your imagination and intuition with Reverend Valerie. She is facilitating a creative visualization workshop on Saturday, April the 20th, so that's not this Saturday, but the following, at 10 o'clock a.m. Sign up today, and so she prepares everything for the workshop when she's doing one, needs to know how many people are coming so she can prepare accordingly. Now, the next day, April the 21st, is our annual meeting. It's such an important time to come. And so we elect board members at the annual meeting, but even more than that, we also take a look at the work that's been done. And ladies and gentlemen, you'd have to really almost have a magnifying glass to actually know all of the stuff that's been done this year, and it's of interest to you. And this way, it's going to be presented in such an organized way with some visual effects, and you'll appreciate the scope of the work that's been done. You know all of the things that have happened that have necessitated some of the work. We also are going to be looking at plans for the future, physically, and we have a new minister coming. Who knows? There might be great information for that. I'm looking forward to seeing if that's like a big announcement as well. So that's on April the 21st, and so take a chance and come on and plan and do that. On Sunday, April 28th, so the following Sunday, we are delighted to have Michael Pascal, who is going to be doing a musical meditation experience with his virtuoso pianist who will accompany him. They, as we are saying, they're going to be performing in Carnegie Hall in December, but they're coming here first. You know, that joke about what does it take to get to Carnegie Hall, or how do you get to Carnegie Hall is the question. Practice, practice, practice. Well, they're going to be practicing on us, and it's really a great experience. The tickets are $35, and they're available at the desk. It's going to be a magnificent experience. Looking ahead, the drumming circle is going to meet, instead of that last Sunday when Michael Pascal will be here, the following Sunday, the 1st of May. And we're going to have a big talent show coming up May the 18th. And so that's a time for coordinating some things with the drumming. They're going to do a wonderful presentation. The talent show was May Ruth's idea that she is shepherding. It's really going to be cool. There are a lot of people doing things, and it's going to be great, great fun. We have 2 book study groups that meet, and one on Tuesday morning is reading a Michael Beckwith book, and the one on Wednesday morning that I lead is reading Quantum Healing, which is just an amazing concept and book. And so we are having an interesting time, a questioning and learning time. And they do on that Tuesday group is so much energy. I'm often here, and they really enjoy what they're doing. And so they enjoy each other as well, very much a community event. We still have our Science of Mind classes every Sunday. They're before services from 10:15 to 10:45. So you can come early for service, step in and immerse yourself in a taste of Ernest Holmes, and then come in to the service, most any Sunday. Now, there is a flyer out in the foyer for the next Science of Mind classes coming up with Reverend Kathy Sinfield. So it's going to be 5 weeks of class, and it's coming up later on in May. So check it out if you're interested in taking a Science of Mind class. We always thank our volunteers for the work they're doing. Our gardens are looking so good. I see people out working in that garden outside of Dr. Moira or the new minister's office, and it's looking so good. I'm just so grateful for all of that work. And we have our volunteers in the back that are working the service, as well as different times during the week that you don't even necessarily know, but they help make this place go. I'm very, very appreciative of all of their work. And so we come from announcements to put the spotlight on. Wait, it's on me. I am doing announcements and the talk today. So again, thank you all for being here. And so let's begin By centering ourselves in this moment, if you're at all like I am, you've had a lot that you've been doing before you got here. So just take a moment and let it fall away. If it's important, it'll come back to you in just the way it needs to. But for right now, breathe in that conscious breath of spirit. It's a God breath. And it actually breathes you throughout your day. But in this moment, be conscious of that energy, that divine energy that flows through. And what I know is that divine energy tunes me up and allows me to open to exactly the things that my consciousness wants to be here, something that I'm hungry for, something that I understand more deeply, simply because my consciousness is ready for just the right thing. I am simply grateful to be here. And I am grateful for the opportunity to share all of the beautiful words. And I know that everything goes for the good of everyone here and within the sound of my voice, so that we all prosper in health and vitality, in abundance and success, and all of the aspects in between. And we take everything that we know, add to it the ideas that flow, stimulated by words, by music, by everything, and let it know that it is for our divine good. So I breathe into this moment knowing that it's absolutely perfect just the way it is. And I release this word knowing that it is for good and it is already true in the mind of God. And I say, and so it is. In thinking about this topic today, and it is, the title, if you don't know, is Divine Restoration. I think that sounds like a really big topic. And it wasn't until sometime yesterday when I was reading that I understood why it was bigger for me than I realized that it was. Way back in my first year after I had graduated from college, and I was living in Atlanta, I went to Georgia Tech for some reason that's lost in the midst of time, and I was standing at one of these sort of snack tables that are around in some places, must have been having some food. And when I left there to go on to wherever else we were going, whoever we was at the time, I ended up leaving my wallet on that table. That was a devastating loss to me. And I actually had forgotten how much it affected me at the time. Now, the bottom line of all of that now is that there's only one thing I even remember that was in that wallet that I couldn't replace. And it happened to be like a credit card sized version of the degree that I had just received. And I thought that was so cool, and you can't replace that. But whatever else was in there that I mourned at the time, it's just lost to me. And yet what I remember is how I felt. And I had forgotten that, only I don't think my body forgets that, and my unconscious doesn't forget that. If you fast forward many, many years later, I was in Washington, D.C. I was visiting my daughter when she lived there. And we were rushing from the time I had come in, and we were rushing to the Israeli embassy, as I recall, for a reception. And walking, because that's just the way you do. You take the train and you walk. And so in doing that, I had a whole lot of stuff that I was taking because we had to walk, but I wanted to wear nice shoes at the reception. So I had all these things I'm carrying. And so when I got off the train, I was barely off when I realized, I left my purse on the train. I couldn't believe that either. And so here we were. Now this I remember. I was in that place where we got off. We tried some things to retrieve what I'd lost, but the train had already moved off. We tried calling, we tried some things that wasn't working for us. So we were walking from where we were to the Israeli embassy. And I can still remember walking and how terrible I felt. I just felt terrible. And so, and guilty and, blaming myself in all these ways. And so we finally got there, and I was having trouble even enjoying the evening. It was a lovely evening. And then there's the next day. Now, keep in mind, this is in the 2000s, so without my ID that was in there, I can't even get back on the plane, right? And so there's a lot in there to process. So at some point in there, I recognized, I don't even use the word LOST to this day. I refused to use that. I left it on the train. That four-letter word starting with L I would use, but I wouldn't use the other one. What is mine by divine right. And I kept saying it over and over again, but I still had the feeling. As I went through the course of my time there, we did some cool things. My daughter was working during the day, but I went to Mount Vernon. I just went to a lot of places to just simply enjoy the place where I was. And I kept saying, what is mine is mine. So by the time we get to, I think I'm flying back maybe on Saturday or Sunday, and it was Friday, Thursday night or Friday, we got a phone call at night. And it was my daughter who lives here and said, Mom, they just called and they have your purse. And so the next day, I went and picked it up. And it had what I needed in there, which was primarily my ID. And I had a great attachment to this purse, I will have to say, more than I usually do. It was kind of lime green. I just love that purse. I still have it. It is, whereas I've lost purses before, and I didn't care, but I wanted this one back, and I got it back. Now, the money was gone, and there were some other things that were gone, but I got back what I needed to get back, and I felt successful. And so that's the loss I remember. I remember what I went through processing all of that. And so divine restoration is about reconciling your feelings, your sense of loss with where you are. And so in thinking, the topic was really, what is the word, intriguing to me in the way it happens. Because what I know is how we think about things, how we think about life and everything that happens to us really determines our success in life. And Ernest Holmes has said what we believe and what comes to us, it comes to us in a combination. It says it's a matter of your experiences, a matter of what the world thinks about this, and how much you believe the truth, meaning with a capital T, the principle. And the principle in this case is what is mine by divine right. Now, the world at large is saying, you're not going to get that back. That's what the world is saying. My daughter didn't say that, but that's what the world says. My experience, which I probably remembered in some subconscious way, was that first time I ever did something like that, and I didn't get it back. And that perpetual feeling of loss. But I kept clinging, if you will, and repeating and knowing that what is mine by divine right. Now, since then, I've had quite a lot of experience with leaving things, places. A lot. Not just purses more than anything else. My favorite one, though, is the one where I'm coming in my door and the phone is ringing. It was the landline, so it was a bit ago. And it says, we just found your wallet. Do you want to come down and get it? And I didn't know it was missing. I thought that was delightful. It had fallen out of my car. I didn't leave it somewhere. And so I went and retrieved it. And that made me feel like I had crossed some Rubicon in some way, because it was found, you talk about your prayer is answered before you call, and that was literally true in that case. There was another time it was a Sunday morning, and I was coming here, but I did a lot of hospitality, and I stopped off at Ralph's to buy something, pastries, milk, something for hospitality. And I was rushing, and I got back in the car. I left my purse in the grocery cart. And so I kept thinking, oh, I'm going to get it back. And so when I didn't run back to get it, I was busy with church, did what I did. After church, like 1 o'clock or so, I go to Ralph's. The man laughed at me. He thought that was absurd. But I knew I was going to get it back this time from the beginning. I knew. I kept saying that. And so at one point by the way, it was the same lime green purse. And so anyway, I did get it back. And there was the stuff that was in it was everything that was in it except the cash that was in my wallet. But my wallet was in it, and even Kleenexes and paper clips and things like that, all there. But when I got it back, it was 2 weeks, by the way. But meanwhile, I got phone calls at home that were hang-ups. And I truly believed that someone was trying to give it back to me. I believed that. It happened at least 3 times over the next time. And then one Friday morning, I'm backing out of my driveway early because I then took my husband to a bus stop. And I looked over, and over on our parkway was this big manila envelope. And I said, what's that? And Bob wanted to get to the bus stop. He said, oh, it's nothing. It was probably dropped by the trash. I said, no, it wasn't. And I put it in park and went over. It was my purse. And so I was so delighted and so grateful to someone who clearly had a problem making that step or didn't know what to do. I did the flowers that particular Sunday. I paid for the flowers, and my dedication was to the person who had returned my purse. I was so incredibly grateful. I've never had one that dramatic since then. So I like to believe that there was some divine restoration that happened. But we sense loss in many ways. My sense of loss has been those are the ones that have the most impact on me, but they're not the only losses that we have. Anytime something happens to us that disappoints us, especially if we're disappointed in ourselves, we don't do as well as we should have, or we do something kind of wish we hadn't done. There's a little piece of us that we've lost in terms of our integrity and the way we think about ourselves. And I do believe that how I think about myself, and what Ernest Holmes says is our experiences and how we process those experiences really matters into how successful we are at processing things and taking care of whatever comes along. In the class, Quantum Healing, we are actually talking about the chapter we're in is talking about the mechanical function of thought versus a physical reaction. And he's comparing it to quantum physics, so I don't want to get too hairy here. But basically what he's saying is science knows now, because these things called neuropeptides that they call messenger molecules, they literally communicate with other parts of the body. And there's a book that I don't remember which one it is, but Deepak Chopra has that wonderful expression that your cells are eavesdropping on your thoughts. And your thoughts matter to your body. Not just how you think about your body. We're not even saying, I know that I'm healthy and this illness that I have is not real, or however you want to characterize that. It's not just that. It's reactions to things. I think about sometimes that I know people who have digestive issues that get exacerbated by worry and concern, or even fear, but worry, like, well, what's going to happen, and their stomach hurts. Those worry is a thought. Worry is something that comes in. Concern, what I think about me is a worry, is a thought, is a concern, but it affects me physically. And it may not be your stomach, it may be something else. But the best thing to think about is to take, anytime we have any kind of message, and while each of us is so special, we are unique in ways that I really have trouble processing. I read this wonderful quote, Richard Rohr, who's a theologian. He said, each of us is God's fingerprint. And we know that fingerprints are special and unique. So I just see this maze of fingerprints when I read that. And yet, we're all in here. You're all hearing the same words, whether it's today or a class or on Sunday, and we're processing it differently. And as things happen to us, somebody treats you badly on the freeway, a neighbor is rude, someone in a store is rude, and somebody is outrageously rude and ugly to you. How do you process that? And that kind of incident is part of your body. And I don't think we like to think about it that way. And so one of the things that Deepak Chopra says in another book is that is the reason, because so many things affect our gut, because he talks about the gut is what is affected so much of the time about what's happening. He says that's the reason you need to put a lot of good stuff in there, a lot of variety and a lot of healthy things to enable you to be able to process what happens, because your body's taking it in. And so divine restoration is more than anything else. I mean, Deepak Chopra says what he says, but divine restoration is more about allowing yourself to process a loss and to recognize and let go of any personal responsibility for the loss. If it's a loss of your wallet, and yes, I left it there, but I have to let myself off the hook for that. And as time goes on, I don't even remember the circumstances and all of that, but yet I was so affected at the time, I know that there is some residue of that. It actually only came up when I started thinking about this. I definitely remembered the person on the train in Washington, D.C., but it's much more recent. This other one goes back a long, long way. And yet, as I think about it analytically, how much did my failure to process that well way back contribute to more incidences that were similar? I don't know, how many of you all have lost your wallet? How many of you lost it 10 times? I'm just saying, it's happened to me over and over again. And that's a factual. I actually haven't counted them, but it's a lot. Most of the time, as I said, I just get them right back. Since the Washington, D.C. thing, I've never failed to get it back. I always get it back. But then at some point, I stopped doing it. So maybe I've made progress. You too can do these things. And maybe there is something in your own experience that's happened more than once. And you're not necessarily seeing that connection. You are the connection. And we're each all doing what we can with what we have. But every day, we can grow in our ability to know that truth for ourselves. One of the things that I want to think about is that words that I want to be that voice that says the right things, not so much when I'm just on a platform, but in everyday life, that whatever is useful in a conversation, that's what I say. And that's the way the conversation goes. It's to be of use. And that alone grows me in ways that I can't even imagine. And I think there's certain things that enable us to move forward no matter what the loss is. And when we have physical losses, like we've lost a relative, we've lost a friend, we've lost somebody that's important to us, and maybe not through death, but in other ways, that we want to be able to process that and understand that there are certain things that simply aren't up to me to control how they happen. I've lost a number of friends, one a little more than a year ago, a longtime friend, and I run across, her name is still in my feed, and every time I see her, I think, I wish she were still here. And I also know that a soul does not leave until the soul is ready to go. And so it's not up to me, the fact that I want that. So processing that, we can take as long as we need. We absolutely can. We have eternity, really, to figure everything out. But I know that if I spend time every day growing in the way that comes up for me to grow, that it matters. It matters to me. So I'm inviting all of you to know that whatever loss you feel, that you can restore your own being by allowing yourself to let any judgment about it just go. We, all of us, do the best we can. Even if we look at in hindsight and say, I wish I hadn't done that. We just need to stop doing that. I did do that. That did happen. And when it's someone who leaves us, we know that we're not responsible. We have to allow our friends, our family, to go when they need to go. And so the loss of some part of us, the loss of people we love, all of that we put together and restore it in divine order. That God is all there is. And in the midst of everything, and I'm that fingerprint of God being myself in the best way I know how to be. And when I do that, whether I do that or I don't do that, I am revealing the nature of God every time I am doing anything. It's a responsibility, but it's also the truth. And so I allow my own judgment about my experiences to be tempered by what I know is the truth. And the world at large, I let them be. But what I know is the truth, what is mine by divine right. And I allow that truth to permeate my whole life in a conscious way. And I invite everyone to take a piece of that and bring it into your own consciousness in just the way that is perfect for you. And so it is. Thank you. We often have questions, we have comments. Oh, we have to do yes, we do. And so we are, actually, it's very important that we do this step. Our center depends on our generosity, not just what we do, but our generosity in allowing ourselves to keep this place being the divine place it has been for me. And so we share the affirmation as we say, divine love consecrates my gift. It goes forth to heal, to bless, and to prosper all those who give and all those who receive. I rejoice in the sharing of my treasure, and I release my gift with love, and so it is. And it is important, I think, that we bless the gift as we release it. And I liked when Sharon on Sunday reminded everyone that many people give in a different way. They don't put it in an envelope. They give it in a certain way. And I'm one of those. And I think that's a wonderful way to put your hands together. Even if you do give in a way that doesn't happen to be here, it is here. It's part of the giving that you do. Does anyone have a comment or a question? Or especially, a loss that you have processed, or any question. It could be any question. Mr. Grant is standing by. Are you feeling the loss of that sound?
Is it working now?
There you go.
Okay. Mine's just a cute little story about my daughter. She was about 7. We were going on vacation. She had to bring her stuffed bunny rabbit with her. And it was life size. I mean, it's kind of big, not just something you can jam in your pocket. Okay, Mallory, bring the bunny. Well, we got to go into a few different hotels. I think we were going to Yellowstone and all those fancy, nice places. And all of a sudden, we were at the different hotel, and she didn't have her bunny. She forgot her bunny at the hotel. I'm like, oh, geez, I knew it. Knew something was going to happen with that rabbit. And but I thought positively about it. I thought, well, maybe somebody will find it, the maid or somebody will find it and return it to her. But nah, that's not going to happen. But that's what I'll think. And we've been home about 2 weeks, and sure enough, there was a knock at the door. Big old box. It was for Mallory. I go, gee, what'd you get? And the bunny was in there. So I thought, oh, I don't know who it was from. There was no return address, no anything, no card or anything. But I just thought, how sweet. Somebody took the time to wrap up a bunny and send it to her. Anyways, that's my bunny story. Very sweet.
That reminds me of one of my students who was paying for her classes in a certain way, and she needed a certain amount of money, and she was just putting it out there, I just need this money. She actually went down to her mailbox, and which was a bit of a walk, I think, from her house. It wasn't like right in the yard. And when she opened it, there was an envelope that did not come with a stamp. And she opened it up, and it was the exact amount of money that she wanted. And things just come to us. And she impresses me with her faith in other ways, or did. She's a minister now, and I know other students that have done that, who have put that out there in such a positive way. They also don't necessarily tell other people what they're doing, because Ernest Holmes said it's our experience. What the world thinks is part of it, because other people can rain on our parade. And what is possible has nothing to do with what somebody else thinks. The possibilities are all here. They're all around us. It's that thought, and that's what the quantum healing is about. It's the thought that stimulates those neuropeptides and messenger molecules that gets to someplace that makes things happen. So, any other comments or questions? You are a very quiet audience, and that's okay. Thank you again for being here, and thank you all for being online. See you soon. And thank you for your comment. I appreciate it.